Good morning, second period.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right. So as you can see, we're going to do about a page of notes or so. Just need some writing utensils. I'm showing all the different colors that I'm probably going to use today. And I have a ruler just because I'm going to draw a couple things and I want them to be straight. You don't have to have the ruler and draw them perfectly straight, but you know how I get sometimes. So, yes. This is a black pen. All right. So let's start with distance and midpoint. Now the explanation for these and some more examples can be found on, I think the video is the 1.3 video, the measuring segments that we watched way back in the day. You can go back and re-review if you're stuck on why these things are that way. I just want to take today to go over the formulas. So I want to start, yes, I want to start with the midpoint formula. Now these formulas are when we're in our XY coordinate plane. Ooh, this pen you can't really see. I'm sorry. I'll find a better one. Midpoint formula. Okay. Here's the midpoint formula. It's a big M, and then I have that XY thing happening. And that tells me that there is some coordinates. And this midpoint is basically the average between those two coordinate points. It just takes some time, little point. You're in the middle of the line. Oh, that's really,
Wait. You never sang that song?
Is it stuck in your head now?
No, you never sang that song that you said you're gonna learn.
I need to.
You said you're like, we're gonna sing it.
I totally need to. You're right.
It's all right.
All right, so I'm going to draw a little coordinate plane over here. Try not to make it too big and overwhelming, so we have plenty of room. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect or exact. I'm just being chiflada that I want all my lines to be nice and straight. All right, I need some points.
-4.
-4 and 4. All right, I'll put you guys together. 4, 4. Give me another one.
3.
So I heard 3, -6, and 6, -6, or -6, -6.
2 and 2.
2, 2. All right, let's name them. I need 4 letters. Go for it. A, B, C, D. There we go. All right, so we have our grid. We've got a couple points. And the question that you were more than likely going to run into on some sort of skill check is find the midpoint of, and then they'll give you a segment. Let's do BD. Find the midpoint of segment, line segment BD. What's the first step that you think that we should take? I like that you said slope. Yeah, well, definitely not a slopey problem because we're looking for midpoint, but the fact that you went to slope kind of made me think that you were thinking about those coordinates because you have stuff that kind of looks like that here. So yeah, I like that. Let's go find the coordinates of those points.
I think it's X and Y.
X and Y, okay. What are the coordinates for B?
2, negative.
Yeah, 2, 2. And the coordinates for D?
Negative
-6,
-6.
-6. All right. So look at this midpoint formula. We can basically break it down into 2 sections. We can break it down to the X coordinate of the midpoint and the Y coordinate of the midpoint and do them separate so we don't have a big jumbled hot mess that we're trying to figure out. So let's do one at a time. Let's find the midpoint of the X coordinate first. So I'm going to pull out just the X coordinate information. What's x1 and x2 for this particular problem?
2 and negative 6.
2 and negative 2?
2 and negative 6.
2 and negative 6. Which means these have to be y1 and y2. Once you've selected which one is your x1, the y coordinate that goes with it has to be the y1. Otherwise, it's going to mess stuff up. Okay? All right, so we're just going to plug in. And what's my x coordinate for the midpoint?
Hold on. Oh, I'm dying. Okay.
Go to your calculators, use the scratch pad if you're stuck.
No, I'm not stuck. Just be ready to fight.
What do
Oh,
we
you
put?
can't go ahead.
This one right here. 2 plus negative 6 over 2 is what you're trying to figure
Thank you,
out.
Lord.
You got negative 1,
Oh, what do you?
he got negative 2.
I got negative 1.
You got negative 1? All right, let's go step by step. 2 plus negative 6 is? Negative 4, I heard in the back. Confirm? All right, negative 4 over 2. Negative 4 over 2 is negative 4 divided by 2. That is negative 2. So there's our y coordinate, or x coordinate, excuse me. We have our x. Let's go find our y now. Same process, but now you're using the y coordinates. y1, y2. 2 minus 6 is negative 4. And negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So then our midpoint for line segment BD is negative 2, negative 2. Do you see how that worked? Do you want to see one more example, or do you want to move on to the next one? Next one. Move on to the next formula? Okay. I'm going to zoom it out just a little bit.
Okay, wait, hold on.
All right.
I got no more space on my paper. All right, too big.
It's all right. If you're out of room on your paper, that's all right. Go ahead and flip the page and continue writing on another one. Here's the distance formula. And I think we had mentioned the distance formula a little bit, yeah? Mentioned it once. This is the distance formula when you're on that XY coordinate plane. Okay? Now I need to try to remember how it goes because, yeah, it's kind of long. There it is. And this is a square root symbol. It's not a division. There's the distance formula. You're going to find on a skill check something that says find the distance between B and D. Where do we start?
Maybe you gotta, like, hold up.
Which side? This
The-
side?
No.
The X1.
We need to figure out which one's the x1 and the y1 and the x2 and the y2. Well, let's start with the coordinates. What's the coordinate of B?
2, 2.
2, 2? Positive 2? Yeah. And D?
Negative 6. Negative 6.
Awesome. So which one's going to be x1, y1? Okay, you're calling B as x1, y1? All right. And the short story is it doesn't matter which one you pick, as long as you picked one. And now we're going to substitute into the formula. So the distance is x1 minus x2, y1 minus y2. All right. We've done our substitution into the formula.
Hold up. Wait till I catch you real quick. Hold up.
Okay, do the subtraction for me. 2 minus negative 6 is? 2 minus negative 6.
-4.
Negative 4.
Oh, no.
Double check on the calculator. She got 8. Yeah, because that double negative, you see this double negative that's sitting there? So 2 negatives is a positive. We can think of that as addition. That's 8. So that means this over here is 8 also. What does the squared thing mean? How'd you get 64?
You multiply the times itself,
You multiplied what times itself?
the number.
This, whatever this is.
Yeah.
Times itself how many times?
8, no, yeah.
2. Yeah, twice. Awesome. So 64 plus 64. 64 plus 64 is 128. I'll believe you because I can't do that addition. Yeah, I need one. All right. On those multiple choice tests that you've done in the past, start. Excuse me. You might have seen these kinds of questions come up, and you might have seen the answers with all those radical things, right? The weird symbol. And you probably turned this into a decimal, and then one turned all your answer choices into decimals and see which one was the same. Yeah? Yeah? Most of you. And it's okay if you did. There's nothing wrong. That's totally a legitimate strategy. But I want to prepare you for what's coming up, and I'm going to use this moment to do it, okay? We're going to simplify the radical. Simplify the radical. And that square root symbol thing is called a radical. Whoops, I need to zoom in that out. What question is the radical asking? What's the operation that it's having us do? Divide? Thing is that we have the division symbol for strict divide. So while this is kind of related, it's not a division because we have a symbol for division. Not really sure. Okay, but I love the guess of division because it's kind of related. What the radical is asking is, what number do I need to multiply to itself twice to give me the number inside? That's what this radical is asking. Do you want to write that over here? The radical symbol, let's scoot over this way. The radical symbol wants to know what number multiplied to itself 2 times gives me the number inside. And we're saying twice because there's no little number out here. When you hit Algebra 2, they're going to start changing that number up there where I put the blue dot. Okay? Be prepared for it. They'll extend this rule a little bit for you. But right now, this will serve our purposes. So what number do we need to multiply to itself to give me 128? Let's check. Go to a calculator. It's got to be more than 8. So 8's, well, you know it's more than 8 because 8 is, times 8 was 64.
Well,
12? Okay, so do 12 squared. What do you get? That's 144. That's too big.
then it's 8.
Then it's 8? No, because 8 is 64.
We multiply 11,
Oh.
it's 121.
11 times 11 is 121, which means that this thing doesn't have a whole number answer. It's going to be somewhere bigger than 11, but smaller than 12.
11.4.
11.4, some decimal. But I don't want the decimal. I want to keep it in this exact form because that decimal is some sort of rounding, and it's not
Put it into
exact.
percent.
Percent is the same as a decimal. It's just written differently. So here's what I want to do. How can I rewrite 128 as just a bunch of multiplications?
It's 11.3137.
Okay, that's a decimal. The question is the number 128. How can I rewrite that as just a bunch of multiplications everywhere? I'm going to do some work down here. Do some scratch work.
Square rooted.
128, it's an even number.
By 2?
Yeah, it's divisible by 2. So 2 times, help. 2 times something gives me 128. 64?
64.
64. All right. Is any one of these two numbers a perfect square? You get it from taking a whole number and multiplying it to itself. The 64. So if I replace 128 with 2 times 64, I could get somewhere. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to write the 64 in front because that's my perfect square. Perfect square because it's 8 times 8. So square root of 64 times 2. Didn't change the value of that number inside the radical. I just rewrote it so it looks a little different.
There's another way to find.
There's another way to do this?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's 264, and then like multiply.
Yeah. Yeah, because we had this addition right here. Yeah. All right. I can exchange this symbol this way. And this is the reason why we're rewriting it as multiplications. I can break this radical whenever I have a multiplication. I can't do it if I have addition subtractions in there, okay? It's only when I've got multiplication and division. I can break it up that looks like this. I know the square root of 64. I have no idea what the square root of 2 is, and don't stick in your calculator and give me the decimal. Don't. Not necessary. There's the final distance.
8 square root.
8 square roots of 2. Okay? Any major questions on these kinds of things? In particular, this group right in here. All right, thank you very much. That's all I have to say about this morning.